Hello there. Welcome. Welcome to my Monday Night Live, or my topic for today, which is about, for women's hiking, staying safe on the trail, the decisions that matter. So, staying safe, staying strong is all about the decisions that we make pre, during, and post our hiking adventures. So, there's nothing that is dramatic about tonight, unless you choose not to think about these things, but really empowering decisions. And let's face it, we all want to go places and spaces. And the more we can be empowered with the right knowledge and the right information, the safer we are. And the more capable we are, and the more likely we are to do it again. So, welcome. If you are new here, I'm Yvonne Shepherd, founder and CEO of Women's Fitness Adventures. I have been teaching, training, and taking women on hiking adventures for almost 12 years now. And we've been to some amazing places close to home and far away, some extended days and some short days as well. So we have loads and loads of knowledge amongst myself and all our leaders, and of course our collective community as well. So we have some watching live tonight. So if you are watching live, please go ahead and say hello. And if you have questions live or on the replay, please be sure to jot those questions down in the comments. So over the past week or so, I have been reading about rescues. I've been reading about people falling over, hurting their ankles, hurting wrists, all sorts of things like that. And I thought it timely to bring all these things together about what are some of the hazards that can face us, and what are some of the smart decisions that we can make beforehand so that we don't end up being one of those people that we might hear about in the news. And I know for most of our community and most of you watching that you're not that type of person that doesn't heed warnings and heed notices. But sometimes there's some little things in there that you might have not thought of, or that you think, well, that doesn't really apply to me, but are really good to have in your toolkit. So hello, Meg, and hello, Marie. I'm coming to you today from Brisbane. It is steamy, hot. I've been out hiking this morning, and of course, hiking in the heat does bring its own challenges as well. So why does making smart choices, safe and strong decisions matter? It matters because we know them with confidence and with ease and knowledge that we can be uh, safe and capable out on a trail. And whether that's a trail that we've done a lot of the times, or whether that's a new trail for us, the fundamentals generally don't change. So let me walk you through that. So one of the biggest questions we get is around our pack size. And for our members, hello, Ellen, you may have seen Mandy's post. Mandy's one of our leaders in our member Facebook group, and she's hiking in Tasmania right now with her husband. And she has a raincoat on, and she did a little story on this, which we talk about a lot, is that why is my pack so large? And we often get stopped all around the world. Why is our pack so large? You don't need so much in it. And it is because, particularly in those conditions, that she is prepared and hiking for those weather conditions. So we all know Tasmania, we all know alpine regions, areas of the world that we don't know and we go hiking to. We are relying on the best information that we can get. But the fundamentals of what we need to have in our pack to remain safe really don't change. And so if, as Mandy said, Tasmania was picture perfect, beautiful sunshine one moment, and then it's snowing the next. And if you're not prepared for that, you end up being one of those people that appears, on the news feeds all over social media, not only here in Australia, but on the other sides of the world as well, in that they went out into conditions that they weren't prepared for. And you could say that because hiking is the new thing, that the same percentage are out there being rescued, but every time there's a rescue, or every time resources are deployed to go find someone, they're taking away from what really matters. And I think that if we took the right advice from the right people and used common sense, which doesn't really exist anymore because we're all not coming from a common place, and that's where common sense came from. You think about it, if we all used to live in the same community, we had this commonality around the community. Now we don't. We're a big global world. That doesn't make sense, but we're global. And so we bring thoughts and ideas and cultures, and it all goes into a mix. So that common sense that we had doesn't really exist. So we need to rely on our best judgment. We need to rely on our knowledge, and we need to rely on, um, you know, the making the right decisions at the right time. So our pack system will keep us warm, it will keep us dry, and it will keep us fueled. And if we think about that little ecosystem every time we go out, no matter where you're going. Am I going to be warm enough? Should it get cold? Am I going to be dry enough? Should it rain? And do I have enough fuel? Should I be staying out for longer? So they're the fundamentals of what's in your pack. And then you have the communications, what happens if I do get stuck? How do I communicate? And what happens if there is something medical needed? What is my first aid kit got in it? So it's kind of like that whole little ecosystem in your pack. And we don't just carry things for the sake of it, we carry them because they have a purpose. So doing a little bit of research before you go anywhere, and making sure it's the right research too, following random people on social media. There's so many across every industry, so many influencers out there that just get paid based on how many views they get or how many likes they get, but the knowledge isn't there. So make sure that when you're getting your information, you're getting it from a source that you trust and a source that you can actually have an interaction with. A lot of it, as I said last week, it's hard to know what's real. But in terms of our packs, it can, well, actually, I'll come to that. So the next thing I want to talk about is safety is a skill. It's not something to be feared. So just building on that, know what you need, know when you need it, and know why you need it, and it will make your hiking feel easier, but it will also give you that relaxed mindset that you're not, well, some people don't really care if they've got the stuff or not till they're in a situation where they think I actually need the stuff. But if you know that you're set up and prepared, and I know everyone who's watching or who has commented is always set up and prepared, then it just takes that cognitive load out of, should the trail not go to plan, and let's face it, some of the best hikes are when it doesn't go to plan. When life takes that little detour or the trail takes that little detour that are most important. But if you're out there, here's a big question to ask yourself, or a big thing to think about. And for me, a red flag. If I'm out there on the trail, and I had to think about this morning because where we hike every Monday has been absolutely ravaged by storms, and a lot of the trails are closed or starting to reopen. And I know that area quite well, and certainly I don't take groups into places where it says trail closed because we're a fully insured company, and if I did that and something went wrong, then that's kind of the end of it. Other groups may choose to, but I certainly don't, and individuals may choose to, but I certainly don't either. But if you are going somewhere, and I think we've had this conversation inside our member community, and you get to a point on the trail and you start to ask the questions, should I turn back? Is it safe to go ahead? Do you think it's too warm? When you start asking yourself those questions, that's probably a really good decision point to think, why am I asking myself this question? Is the trail getting too hard? Am I getting out of my depth? Am I getting out of range? Am I getting beyond the time frame that I set for myself? Is the weather changing in? All of those things, think of that as a red flag, because when something goes wrong in life or on the trail, it's generally not the moment of where the thing went wrong. It's the decisions that you've made leading up to that. So just think about that from a perspective of when you're next on the hike or on your hike. If you get to a point where you think, should I, will I, could I, do I, just go, okay, is this a decision point for me? And making a smart decision here will, lead to an absolutely fabulous afternoon of unlocking a whole new potential for me. Or is this a decision that I'm asking a question I'm asking myself based on I'm uncertain and not really sure what to do next? Because if it's like, should I turn back? It's usually a sign. And experienced hikers will know that. They'll know when, it's either a weather or a fatigue or a time-based decision or a technical decision. They'll know within their skill set whether that's the right moment to turn back or not. So that's a really good little piece to have in your toolkit, your mental toolkit, about staying safe and making those right decisions on the trail. And hello, Lynn. Hello, Jelena. Um, the other thing, though, is, I talked earlier about what's in our pack, that little ecosystem of what do I have to keep me warm? Should it get cold? What do I have to keep me dry? Should it rain? And what fuel do I have to keep me fed? Should I do more than I planned or stay out for longer than I planned? But how we pack our bag, how we pack our backpack, determines, one of the smart decisions we can make on the trail is not to fall over. And sometimes it happens. You just don't see a tree root, you trip there. But some of the decisions that we can make around our fitness and the way we pack our backpacks for our hike, for our trail, can really have an impact on our risk of tripping or risk of falling as well. So we have for our members, the master classes, and one of those master classes is how to pack a backpack. And we know that, there's a lot more to it, but here's the great thing. Here's the snapshot. You don't overpack, you pack what you need in terms of that little ecosystem, but you also pack it according to, the items that you need the most should be reasonably handy, and the heavier items go in the middle of your pack and close to your pack. And you try and cinch it in as much as possible, and you try and not pack it too far over your head, so you have everything there. So a well-packed backpack and a great structured backpack and having the right items is one of the ways we can minimize our risk of tripping or falling over, because we have packed it properly. So we can trip and fall because we're not lifting our feet, or we can trip and fall because we just didn't see something, or we can trip and fall because of the way our pack is balanced or not balanced on our back. So, most trips and stuff are just little accidents, but they can be minimized. What we learn and what we see, and what we've certainly seen over the past 10, 12 years, is that when our feet get tired, we're not as inclined to lift them up as much. And that might be next time you're out on the trail, when you get to the end of your hike, have a look and just have a think about your feet. Are they, we start off really sprightly and bouncy and using a lot of energy at the beginning of our hike, and then depending on the length or depending on your fitness, that enthusiasm in terms of our body starts to go down and fatigues. So when we get to the last bit and, close to the end, we know the end's not far away, and that last 15 minutes seems to last, much longer than 15 minutes. In that's when the trips can happen. That's when the stumbles happen. That's when we start to lose our concentration. So we know that doing the fitness training that is designed for that last bit of the trail mainly is, that step fit training, that ability to keep, training the glutes, training the right muscles to keep lifting the feet, no matter how tired we might be. The more they're trained, the more that goes on autopilot, the less likely we are to fall or trip, unintentionally trip. Well, no one intentionally trips, but you know what I mean, not see that thing. But it's also about, the building the strength in all of those muscles to continue to be able to lift even when we get tired. So our glutes are going to fail first. Our butt muscles are going to fail first, because if we've trained them, they've fired, they're working for most of the day. And as they tire, it's going to rely on the other parts of our legs that we've strengthened. So, making sure that we have recruited all of the right muscles to do the jobs that they're supposed to do is going to minimize, the other muscles having to come in and be recruited to do the jobs they're not supposed to do, which can cause us to have sore knees going downhill, and can have us to, have sore ankles, or, not lift our feet. So which all in turn increases our risk of tripping or falling. So if you think about it, the decisions that you make around your training and preparation for hiking, around your training for strength, around your training for cardio, around your training for endurance, happen way before you get on the trail, but they're a big part in keeping you safe on the trail. So you think about it that, the decision, one of my good friends who's big into scuba diving said that, if an accident happens, it's not actually at that point. It's the decision that you made 3 or 4 decisions before. So if you think back to your hiking, and if you're finding at the end of the day that your feet are dragging, or that you're starting to sway a little bit, have a think about the decisions that you've made around your pack. Is it the right pack? Is it fit for purpose? Is it packed properly as well? And then have a think about, and so does that mean, did I buy the right pack in the first place? Then the question before that is, did I have enough knowledge to buy the right pack in the first place? The same with uh, our fitness as well. Did I do the right type of hike training? Did I train the right muscles? So, when we might trip on something, is it fatigue because I haven't, I've skipped the last 4 weeks of my, gym classes or whatever it was that I was meant to do. So have a think about those things as you know, the the decisions we make, the training we make, the packing we do with it, or how we buy our pack, all that information affects how we perform on the trail. So these, small decisions early on can have just not dramatic, profound effects on how we experience our hike. Now, no one's had any questions or any comments so far, so hopefully you're all following along. So what we want to make sure is that every time we go out on a hike as well, every time we go to train our fitness, and making sure that that fitness training is enjoyable, every time we pack our bag, every time we show up to be on the trail or be with friends or make a suggestion to friends, that we show up prepared, show up, and especially if we don't know the answer to a question, if we think, I have a question, but I don't really want to answer it because I think I should know that, that's the time to answer it, because that's probably the question that will show up on the trail. So I really encourage you to think about, you know, that preparation beforehand, which begins way, way, way before the night before the hike or the morning of the hike. It begins, well, it's just ongoing. It's this beautiful cycle. So just to recap, that the decisions we make around hiking start long before we get on the trail, and the decisions we make about staying safe are all around our pack and what's in our pack, which comes down to our safety communications as well, who we go with, and what metrics we pay attention to. So, you might find those questions to ask is, if you're going with a new group, or you're going with some friends you haven't hiked with before, or you're going out solo on your own, is what are my decision points? And if you ever start having any doubts around your pack, around your fitness, around those decision points, then that should be a red flag. That should be the moment to think, yeah, okay, it's trying to tell me something, and pause and really work out, what's next for you on that point there. So all of that preparation makes us so much stronger for hiking, because it's not just about our achievement on the trail. It's all the things that we do pre and post the trail, so that we can continue to do it again and again and again. And I know, I rolled my ankle a few weeks ago, and it was because I was tired. It was the 3rd day on the trail. I still had some jet lag. I'd hiked, 40 kilometers in 2 days or something, and I was just tired. I hadn't trained enough for that, and I was wearing different shoes because I thought my feet are hot, and just a whole lot of different things. And it was all of those decisions. So I'm the same as everyone else, thinking about really carefully those decisions. And luckily it was just a training thing that I was doing, and I could recalibrate and go on from there. So I want you to make sure that you put those things in your toolkit, those questions that you ask yourself, the way you pack, the way you train, all will play out on the trail at some point. So that is it from me for today, as we sit here in a sweltering mid-November. If you think of any questions afterwards, please drop them in the chat. And if you have any questions you'd like me to talk about as topics, please go ahead and let me know as well. And I look forward to catching you next week. I'll be in a different location, but I'll catch you then, so you can guess where I am then. Talk to you then. Bye.